जी। और कैसे हैं आप? इन्होंने मेरे को आपकी किताब गिफ्ट की है 13 तारीख को कीर्तन में जब आए थे। तो कल एक्चुअली मैंने जैसे ही मिली उस दिन 14 को शुरू कर दी थी पढ़नी, एक दो दिन में ख़त्म कर दी। तो आई एम वेरी वेरी क्यूरियस एंड वेरी interested to know more about this, because as Rupa was mentioning, her life has been in spirituality. Mine too has been since childhood in the search of the truth, search of God, and all that I wanted in life is just God. That's it. So I've been also with many, many gurus and avatars and teachers and enlightened masters, all this. But I would love to hear from you. And also, after reading this, I have few questions. So I would like to hear from you first.
If you put it that way, I really do not know what to say. But if you ask me a question, then within that I can say probably something, because everything that I wanted to say is already in the book.
Right, right. So I would like to ask, how is it that God contacted you?
Uh, uh, you want to know why he contacted, or how that whole process started?
How that how that whole process started, and why
So,
only you? Why not me, or why not somebody else?
yeah. That was a question I had when God contacted me, because I felt I was not the right candidate for his work. But he said, no, you have to do my work. It was much later that I came to know why it was particularly me and not someone else. And the reason why it was me is because the whole process started around 2000 years back when my soul left the domain of God. So my soul was particularly created for this work. The soul was given all the instructions, and then it left the domain of God, and then it went through all kind of star systems, and then finally it came to planet Earth. And then around 600 years back, it started sourcing the first incarnation, the first human incarnation. And then I kept on taking birth again and again. So that is the reason why it is only me and not any other human.
How do you know about all these incarnations that you have been taking?
He only showed me all those things, because I do not have any kind of siddhi.
He showed you in vision or in person?
Partly in knowing, partly in vision, both.
And how does God look like? Like, is it formless, or how does he speak in your language, Hindi language, or?
God is not restricted to any language. God doesn't need also any language. Currently, he says, my face is the face of God. Currently, he says, my body is the body of God. And for all other humans, this face and this body will be the face of body and God till I die. And my image, God will come through my image to all the humans. My image means the image of Falguni ji and me. God will come through that.
So I was studying in the Vanes University in 2 hours from Chennai. It's in the South Indian. There are two avatars, Amma and Bhagwan. They also say the same thing. that they are the reincarnation of God themselves, and they call Amma and Bhagwan. And so there are many who say about this. How is it uh, that only when you say it's you that you have been chosen?
So I do not know whether they are the reincarnation or not, but I am definitely not a reincarnation of God. I am not, this human is not God. This human is being used to be God, to come across as God, which means this human has all the negativity, has all the fear, has all the weakness, has uh, all the issues which any other human has, which means I am not a saint, I am not enlightened, I am not a guru, I am not a Mahatma, and of course, I am not a holy man. So, that being so, I will not talk about them. They may be very evolved, they may be very enlightened, they may be very much who they say they are. I do not claim to be anything other than following the instruction of God, where God says, you go to people and say that you are God. And I'm only following that instructions. If you ask me whether I have an experience of being God, I have no experience. My only experience is of being a human. If you ask me if I have the powers of God, I don't have. If you ask me whether I have the awareness of God, I don't have. If you ask me whether I have the knowledge and wisdom of God, I don't have. And yet, God says, tell people that you are God.
Thank you so much for sharing this. And when did this all started? I think I was reading last night also. I was checking your YouTube videos, and um, last night I was reading your whole bio and online, and was very curious about to know more. So when did this all started for you, and what is the mission of God, and how and when this the souls who are ready to merge into that light or form of the divine or God? Um, any
Okay.
messages from that?
Um, the whole thing started in 2025. And in 2020, no, sorry, in 2015, not 2025. It started in 2015. One night I was just sitting alone, and then there was a voice that came in my head. It was not a voice, it was a thought, but it came through very strongly that now you have to work for me. Up till that point of time, I was working with the deities, which means I was working with Shiva, I was working with Durga, uh, and all the other ones. So, for whatever reasons, I had the capacity to connect with, to communicate, get answers, and uh, be a part of a conversation with the deities and knowing them, what they are, who they are, what they do. But that was not a part of my journey with God. That was a journey prior to God. Because at some point of time, suddenly I wasn't able to contact anyone and no one was coming to me. So there was a gap. And then that thought came that you have to work for me. So I asked, who are you? He said, I am God. So I said, which one? Because I already know now many gods. He said, the ultimate. I said, okay, so no one above you? He said, no, no one above me. I said, okay, what do you want? He said that you have to work for me to free my children. I said, who are your children? He said, souls. I said, free, I have to work to free them from whom? He said, the king of the multiverse. Now, I didn't know anyone as the king of the multiverse. For me, I thought Shiva was the ultimate. But anyway, so I said, I'm not interested in your children. I do not know whether you are God or not. You could be the devil. You could be a deity. You could be an angel. You could be someone from the lower world. And you could be a part of my hallucination where I am deluded into believing I am having this conversation with someone. That being so, I am not going to trust you. I am not going to revere you. I am not going to surrender to you. I am not going to have any faith towards you. I will hold you in a place of skepticism. I will hold you in a place of doubt. I will hold you in a place of questioning. I will hold you in a place of non believing. And if this is okay with you, then we can work. He said, yeah, all these things are okay. Then the next thing I said that I don't really care about your children because I don't know them, but I care about the humans. So can you give something to the humans that will make their life better? So he said, I don't care about the humans. I said, okay, you don't care about the humans. I got it. But I don't care about your children. So we have to do a deal. He said, no, it's not possible because if I do anything for the humans, I will go against my son, the king of the multiverse. And my son is more dear to me than the humans. And I said, no, that doesn't work for me. He said, anyway, let me first complete my job. And after that, I will see what little I can do for the humans. But one thing I can assure you, I will not give them what they want. I will not make them enlightened. I will not make their life flowery. I will not take them to any heavenly experience. The only thing I will do is give them some little bit of ease and peace. So that is where the conversation ended, and then my work with God started.
So this communication is continuous with you and God.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
uh, it's
It's
ongoing. It's ongoing every moment. Whenever you want, you can
whenever I
connect.
want. Like, even to come to this interview, I had to ask God, do you want me to go? Because for me, everything is the will of God. And He said, okay, go and talk. And so that's why I said yes to the interview.
Thank you, thank you. I would love to meet God, if that's possible. This has been my deepest intent and desire from the moment I remember this lifetime at least.
God is saying right now, God is in front of you, but you are relating to this as the human. And that being so, this is the best option you have. Anything more than that will not be given.
I accept. Thank you, humbly. Thank you. And what about Falguni ji? If you can tell me a little bit about her.
Unfortunately, she is no more with us. She left her physical body around a month back, around a month back. And so I'm continuing the work.
How do you feel about the soul departing? What is your take on this?
I do not have any feelings because I do not connect experientially with the soul departing. My job with God was to open a doorway in the 11th dimension, which is the highest dimension. Once the door was opened, now the souls are free to go back home if they want to go back home, but God's work is over.
What do you mean by God's work is over?
Because God came to this multiverse only to free his own children to take them back so that they can go back to God. So these souls are not going to merge into anything. These souls are not going to go out of existence. They will continue to exist. They will have their independent uh, existence separate from God, but they will be in the abode of God.
Who are they?
The souls, the children of God.
And how do you know that who is with God and who is with Kala, the Chintya that you mentioned in the book?
Achint is not in this domain. Right now, Kal is the king of the multiverse. We live in the domain of, we means the humans live in the domain of Kal. And only gift that God has given me is when God wants me to know something, I can know that. And from that gift, I can know whatever God wants me to know.
Rupaji was mentioning about workshops,
Yeah.
that she attended some workshop, and so in this workshop, what exactly happens? If you can just elaborate a little bit.
Those workshops was about bringing together 300 people. And this was the number that we needed in order to start the work of God. But unfortunately, it took us over 5 years to get those people, because people were not willing to leave what they were doing in order to come to God. And after we had those 300 people, then our actual work started. And we then did the work of integrating all the human energy bodies. And then we started creating a force field. And then we used that force field in order to do all the things necessary to open that door. So the workshop was nothing but to bring forth 300 people and then to complete what needed to be completed. And so the work was over in August 2023. That is when God said, okay, now I'll give something to the humans. Mostly the humans will not be interested in me. Mostly the humans are not going to come to me. But whoever comes to me, they might have some ease and peace in their life. But one thing is said, anyone who looks at your face, even for a brief moment, this becomes their last life. Their soul goes back home. Their karmic baggage will be uh, discharged by the time they die, and anything called sin or anything, all those things will be cancelled. So, salvation and liberation is what God is providing, but there is a difference between the salvation and liberation that the King is providing. Now, the East is interested in liberation, the West is interested in salvation. East wants to get out of the cycle of birth and death for the simple reason that the narrative in the East says even if you go to heaven, you have to come back into the world of suffering and pain. So the people in the East says that no, then we want liberation, moksha, enlightenment. But people in the West, they don't care about moksha, liberation, or enlightenment for the simple reason their narrative has been given that you have only one life. You are not coming back. So they now want to go back into the heaven, which they believe to be the abode of God, and they want to go and be with God permanently. So it is the difference in the narrative that creates all the uh, all the choices that humans are making. One is interested in liberation, another is interested in salvation.
How do you describe salvation?
Salvation means you are becoming free from your all your sins, and then you are given an entry into heaven to be with God till eternity.
And God, the Supreme, is formless? Is it light? Is it what it is?
It doesn't say what its body is made of. It says I have a form. He says I am an individual. He doesn't talk about the face of God because everything starting from the fourth dimension, they are all shapeshifters. What shape-shifting means is they have no fixed form. They do not have a fixed face. They can take on any form, any face. They can become a speck of light and they can enlarge their body to infinity. And that being so, we cannot quantify as to what God is, except God said, I have made the humans in the way my body is structured, which means God has a head, God has a torso, God has hands, God has legs. So that's the only thing we can know about God.
There was a mention about the mantra of God. What is this mantra of God?
God says that first try me out for 30 days in terms of speaking with me, which means you download the healing card or you download or you use the book, the image given in the book, and you talk to this image or the downloaded image for 30 days, sharing all your pain and all your suffering. If you find any ease coming into your life as a result of your sharing them, then you can decide whether you want to be with me or you want to be with the king. If you decide to let go of all your religion and all your spirituality, that is the only way you can come to me and then you can take my mantra. If you are valuing your religion and your spirituality, then you have to be with God and let go of me. So, this is what God said.
Sorry, the last sentence you mentioned that if you are still following the religion and spirituality, then you let go of me. That means
Me means God.
God. I don't. I was brought up in Sikh tradition, but I don't really is limited to that Sikh. I, for me, religions are how I see it. According to my understanding, is it's like a garden of full of flowers. And I don't know much about the messengers who came, and I don't have a direct like like what I'm having right now with you, like one-on-one conversation, like you had one-on-one conversation with or have with God. So of course, I was brought up in that tradition, followed what my father told me to do, sing the kirtan, and then went into Indian classical music and studied Vedic chanting and mantras from different traditions. Um, was doing bhajan, kirtan, and all that. Also studying meditations with so many gurus and masters. And right now, what I'm doing is meditations. This is my work basically. So meditations and yoga and kirtan and healings. That's what I'm doing right now. I used to be a businessman as well. So I was doing business. Um, Started at the age of 16 doing in Hyderabad, um, manufacturing stabilizers and air coolers with my brother, and then went into Kirtan, traveled all over India, and then went into import and export in Philippines, manufacturing garments, and then they posted me to Russia, to Moscow, and the journey came back to Philippines, and I started my financing business for quite a long time. But I was not really happy with doing finances because my vision, my intent, my desire was just to be with God. It was just God, 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 God. So even if I was doing whatever I was doing, it was just always the remembrance, the always thinking of God. And so left business, came to Bali, and right now I'm based in Bali and Switzerland. So six months I travel, and this is what I do right now. So if you say if I want to be with God, so shall I drop everything what I'm doing right now?
I will not tell you what to do. I only tell you what God has said. Because God says that no human needs to come to me. That is number one. Number two, coming to me will uproot all their structure, all their beliefs, all their traditions, all their faith, and everything about their past. And so, most humans with a vested interest either in their past or in their profession will not come to God, and God is perfectly okay with it. And so I will not tell you whether to go to God or not because that is your personal choice. Unfortunately, that's the way that God looks. Because God says, if you keep your legs in two boat, eventually you will sucked back into the boat of the king, and you will never be able to live with God because both king and God are against each other.
Why are they against each other? Since the king is also the son of God, why are they against each other?
Because the king said, I will not follow your will. And God says, no, who doesn't follow my will is not a part of my domain. And that is the only reason that God told to the king, I give you the universes, go and do whatever you want to do.
There is a song of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, Tum ek gorakh dhanda ho. That means God, even Kabir mentioned about this, that um, it's in the Sikh Shabad that har jag um, thug, the you know the meaning of thug. That means a one who
One who deceives.
deceives. So Kabir calls God as you are the the number one deceiver, that you deceive. So was he mentioning to the king or to
He,
God?
he was mentioning to the king
To the
because
king.
king is the deceiver.
Mhm.
God never was in this domain right from the beginning. It is only in 2015 that God came. Before that, there was no God in this domain. And Kabir happens to be the son of God. And Kabir came and told about God and about the king. That is when humans came to know about God and king. The Vedas and Upanishads, they never told anything about God and king separately. For them, the Brahman is ultimate, or Brahm is ultimate.
Yes. And what's your take on Guru Nanak?
I don't comment publicly on any of them.
It was the same time, I think Kabir and Guru Nanak were on the same time
Which is true.
that they came. And according to my understanding, I'm not a fanatic about Sikhism, because when Rupa came for the kirtan that I was doing, I sing kirtan from several traditions and universal, whatever I have learned from this timeline, I would say. So when I heard the Shabads, when the kirtan of Guru Granth Sahib, they also talk about one God. They even Guru Nanak proclaimed that the three children of God, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. In Japji Sahib, he did mention what exactly you mentioned in the book. So they also are dedicated to that one God. That's my understanding. You have something to say about that?
No, I will not say anything.
No worries. I know Sikhism has gone into a bit of fanaticisms, as many Hindus, many Islam, Christianity, all that the religions that I've noticed, they went into too much of fanaticisms that my God is the best God, my, my path, my religion, and I avoided all this. I rather prefer to be alone and do my own thing. So it's
Yes, I will, without mentioning about any particular person, uh, it was around 10 to 12,000 years back that the king came to know that now God is going to come to king's domain. And so king knew that God will come to the humans. So king designed a very interesting plan so that no human will ever go to God. He created three structures. The first structure, in the first structure, he made the humans ambitious, which means he filled them with desires, wanting. Now, when God will come to this group, they will ask God, what are you willing to give me? And God will say, I'm going to give you nothing. And so this group will tell the God that then I don't need you because I only need a God who fulfills my wishes. So this was the first structure, what we call as the materialistic human. Then he created the second structure, what we call as the religious human. To the religious human, he gave them a God and he gave them the temple, he gave them the mosque, he gave them the church, he gave them the Gurdwara, and he gave them many other places to worship. He gave them the holy places, the holy rivers, the holy monuments, the holy sites. So there was so much of holiness all around within the religion, but it was always about worshipping someone outside of you. And now, when God will come to a religious human, the religious human will say, you don't belong to my temple, my mosque, my gurdwara. I'm not going to worship you. I'm not going to come to you. I'm not going to listen to you. I have my scriptures, and whatever you are saying goes against my scriptures. So you do not have any place in my life. And so the religious humans will not accept God, will not listen to God, will not come to God, will not let go of their religion in order to come to God. So this the king ensured. This is what about religion is. You talked about religion to be something very beautiful. That is only because you are living in an oasis. In the desert, the oasis is very beautiful. But unfortunately, when you go out of the oasis, religion has been very dirty. Now, you may say how it became dirty, who made it dirty? Religion itself is not dirty. That's not the point. The point is, religion could not make the humans what it was meant for, which means it was not able to make the humans do good deeds. Religion kept on saying, become a good person, pray, do not harm others, do not crave for what others have. But no one follows that. Everyone does a lip service to the temple god, mosque god, gurdwara god, but no one is actually following the instructions of the religion. Why? For the simple reason that the king ensures that no human can follow the directives of the religion. So king ensures that. So this was religion. And then God created the third group or the third structure called spirituality. And for this group of humans, their God is within them. So they say, for us, there is no God outside. And if there is anyone outside, we don't worship them, we don't connect with them, we don't follow them. We will follow the one that is within us. Some may call it God, some may call it guru, some may call it divine, some may call it light, whatever names you have for that one which is inside you. And when God will come to the religious humans say, you are a God who is outside of me, and my God is inside of me. So I do not acknowledge you to be God, and I am not going to follow you or come to you or listen to you. Thereby, now the king has ensured three ways how people will push God away, will not listen to God, will not come to God, and will not be choosing God in their life. And what are you actually doing with meditation? Any idea? When you meditate, what exactly are you doing?
So I studied different kind of meditations, and some among them are breath work, breathing techniques, and focusing on the chakras.
That is the technique, but truly in meditation, what is it that is happening?
Nothing. So how I take my take with meditation is these are all techniques that I studied and what I share. But real meditation is when the meditation meditates you. That means the meditation takes over, and it is just happening. That's my take on it. That we are not forcing it from external, but it is happening all the time. That awareness.
Okay, I'll give you a new insight on meditation.
Sure.
Uh, you see, I always use a guy called the Gautama Buddha. This guy became enlightened, or he calls it nirvana in his language. Why I use a guy who is so old is because less controversy. If I use some of the ones who are currently there or a little bit ahead back, that might create a lot of controversy, and I have enough controversy in my life. So I use this guy called the Gautama Buddha. He left everything in order to find a way to become free from his suffering and pain. And he did everything that was possible to do for many years. He practiced everything, he learned everything, and every teacher finally raised their hand and said, we do not know anything more than that. And then Gautama had to move on to the next master. So he moved on through many masters, learning everything that they had. And it said that all his practices, which included abstaining from food and many other things, made him so weak that he found it very difficult to cross a very small river, and he fell down unconscious. Fortunately for him, someone was passing by, gave some milk or whatever to him, and he regained his consciousness. And then he went to a tree, sat down below that tree, and he said, if I get the answers to my questions, the quest that I started many years back, then only I will get up. Otherwise, I'm going to die here. So that was the resolution that he decided within him. And he sat and sat and sat. And the story says that he became enlightened. Now the question was, what was he doing when he sat there? People say he was meditating. But he had been meditating for years and years and years. Why he did not become enlightened in all these years? And how come he became enlightened in just a few days? And then they say it's just that when the fruit becomes ripe, and exactly at that moment it falls. So Buddha had become ripe. Now, the next question, how much do you need to work to become ripe? And let's take another example from our current uh, timeline. We have this gentleman called Eckhart Tolle, a beautiful human The guy was on the verge of whatever we call it, depression, insanity, not being sorted, any word you want to use, depending on how sweet your language is. And then probably he would have one day committed suicide, but then he flipped and he became enlightened. Did he practice the power of now to become enlightened? Did he practice mindfulness to become enlightened? Did he become more aware in order to become enlightened? And there are people who are going through mindfulness, who are going through all their awareness games, awareness practices for years and years and years. How come they are not having what Eckhart Tolle has? Why they don't have that peace? Now the question comes, is really having that which Tolle got or which Gautama got, is it really a function of what you do or function of something else? How come humans don't have that question? And that is where God gave me the understanding, which of course is also in the book, that really enlightenment is not about what you do, but it is about whether it was written in the storyline prior to you taking your birth. If it is written in the storyline, it will happen. Now, the storyline, if it is written that after 30 years of rigorous practice, it will happen, then you have to go through that 30 years. And if it is written in an instant, it will happen, you will go through no practice and it will just show up in your life. So, what is it now a function of? It is a function of whether it is in the storyline or not.
The question is, who writes the story?
Ah, so it is the soul that writes the story. Now, the soul has a clear directive, no matter what you write. And the directive comes from the king. No matter what you write, you must create suffering and pain in the humans. And because from their suffering and pain, the food for the king will be created, which he has to eat. So you can make the story beautiful, you can make it ugly, you can make that person successful, you can make that person failure, you can give him good health, you can make him sick, you can cause accidents, you can give him money, you can take away his money, you can give him love, you can take away the love, you can give him children, you can take away their children, whatever you want to do. Ultimately, that human must create my food, which only happens when that human suffers and has pain. And so the soul writes our story even before we are conceived. The soul has only two functions. Number one, writing the story, and number two, putting the breath in us. How much breath it puts in us depends on the story. If the story says I am only going to exist for 1 hour, it puts in that much breath. If the story says 100 years, it puts in that much breath. This is the only function of soul. And many people believe, or most people believe, soul is within me. The soul is never within the human. It is loitering around all over the multiverse.
Um, in yogic terminology, they call the koshas, the pancha koshas, the annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, the manomaya kosha, the jnanamaya or vijnanamaya, and anandamaya kosha. What is your take on this? Because you mentioned a little bit about energetic body also.
Yeah. The The first kosha is nothing but the physical body which I am right now looking at. Okay. Remaining four koshas, they are nothing but only the two energy bodies of astral energy body and mental energy body. Because mental energy body is also your body of bliss. So all these five koshas do not go beyond the two energy bodies. And actually, for enlightenment to happen, you only need the activation of two bodies. You don't need the activation of beyond that.
What are those two bodies?
Astral energy body and mental energy body.
What is astral energy body?
It is the most gross form of the subtle body. There are YouTube videos which kind of shows a person has died and there is a shadowy body coming out of the physical body and rising up and floating. So these are our energy bodies.
You mentioned about this book to look at the image of you and Falguniji, or this image which is in the center?
No, the image of the two humans.
Two human beings, you and
Yes,
Falguniji. So your what you mentioned, talk to them for 30 days.
that's what God says, that give me a try for 30 days.
Right, definitely. I'm going to try from today
Okay,
because I've tried so many things. So why not? I
why
mean,
not?
why not? And if this is what it takes to meet God and to be with God, yes. And I did sign up for the mantra, but is it possible
It is
to
given
know what?
after it is given after 30 days,
Okay,
after one decides that now I am let go of my past and I am going to start a new journey with God.
yeah. When you say let go of past, what does that mean? What does
It
it?
just means it just means all your religious practices and all your spiritual practices.
Okay, and then what? What's next?
What is next? There is no next. Now you are only with God. The whole problem with being with God is you do not have the, what I would say, a feedback mechanism telling you that you are truly with God. The beauty of religion and spirituality is you have a feedback mechanism that you are truly connecting with something and you are truly engaged with something and you are truly immersing in something. But with God, like for me, I have no experience of being with God. I have been with God from 2015, almost now a decade, but I have no experience of God. I have not seen God. I have not heard God. I have not felt God. I have not felt something arising like gushing up as a very good feelings. None of them. I have zero experience of God. And I said, how come I have no experience? He said, why do you need experience? I said, as a confirmation. He says, I don't give confirmation to people. I said, then no one will come. He says, I don't care who comes and who doesn't come. Because as such, he never wanted to do this work currently he is doing. It is only because of me, he said, okay, I'll give some time to the humans. But he told me humans will not come to anything. Why? The humans want their desires, their wants to be fulfilled. Human wants to have a beautiful experience with God. Humans wants miracles in their life. And none of these things I'm going to perform or deliver. And that being so, hardly any human will ever come to me. And God says, let them know I don't care about the humans and neither the God they worship. Even that one doesn't care about the humans. There is no one truly who cares about the humans in this universe or multiverse. No one. And I know everything right from top to bottom because my knowledge doesn't come from the books. It doesn't come from the scriptures. It comes just as I'm talking with you and I am knowing you. So I can talk with God and I can talk with the king, whatever we call as the Bhagwan. And I can talk with the devil. I can talk with the ones who are in the lower world. I can talk with the ones who are in the upper world. And I tell humans, whomsoever you worship, they are not worth worshipping. Whatever they have written about themselves in the scriptures, they are exactly the opposite of that. They don't care about you. They are the one causing all your misery, all your suffering. They are the one uh, exploiting you. They are the one who are creating all the wars in this planet. They are the wars. They are the one who is creating all the conflicts happening in every house. They are the one filling you with all kind of fears. They are the one putting all the thoughts, feelings and emotions into you and making you believe that no, they are your own thoughts, feelings and emotions. They are the one convincing you to believe that you have free will, and actually you don't have free will. They are the one pulling all the strings of your life, but they give you the impression you have total freedom to act and do whatever you want to do. This is the reality about the God that you worship.
If I may just go a little bit back, you mentioned you spoke to God and you asked for experience, and you also mentioned, I have never seen God, I've never heard God, but then the messages that is coming, it's coming to from God to you.
You might call it that I'm having a telepathic conversations, but this is actually not telepathic because telepathic conversations happens between two mind. God has zero mind. And so God has put the consciousness in me. This is a conversation happening between two. God has put the consciousness in me, and this is a conversation happening between two consciousness.
So, what is this consciousness?
Consciousness is something a part of God that God puts into the humans because God says there is no consciousness in this multiverse. The king has zero consciousness and 100% mind. All the ones whom you thought who became enlightened and has consciousness, no, they don't have consciousness. Buddha didn't have consciousness. Ramana Maharshi didn't have consciousness. Krishnamurti didn't have consciousness. People use the word consciousness assuming that awareness and consciousness is same. They are not same. Awareness is an aspect of the mind. Consciousness is an aspect of God.
Isn't it that we all have that consciousness within us? If we are the children of God,
Now we
don't we
don't
have
have.
that? No.
God
So
did
what
not
we
give
have
the
is,
God did not give the humans any consciousness. We have a mind which is conscious. And when this mind which is conscious expands, now we have awareness. Like I'm conscious of talking to you. If this mind becomes expands, then I will be conscious of everything behind you, everything which is not in this frame. I will become aware of them.
could you please elaborate about the different realms, the dimensions that you mentioned, and a little bit about the king and the you mentioned you speak to those beings. How does this whole thing happens? And I'm very much interested in knowing these dimensions, the upper dimension and the lower dimensions.
If you Google search, they give you all the informations about the seven upper worlds and the seven lower worlds. And those information are partly true. uh, but they hardly have less than 1% of the informations. Of course, it is not my job to educate people about the dimensions and everything, but whatever little God has given, we live in the third dimension. We have energy bodies which are not activated. If our first energy body gets activated, which is the astral energy body, we come into a place of what is known as peace or no mind. Now, this person becomes the observer. So, when in our Vedas it is written that basically you have your waking state, you have your dream state, and you have your deep sleep state. These are the three states in which you exist. But there is one which is called as the Turya or the fourth or beyond these three. And what then is this one that is the fourth or the Turya? They said it is the one who is the observer, who is aware of the three states. So this observer is aware of you having a deep sleep, even though you have no body consciousness, you have nothing. In the waking world, you are conscious of everything. In the dream world, you are conscious of the world that you are creating in your dream. In the deep sleep, you lose all consciousness. Now, again, I'm using the word consciousness. It actually means you are no more conscious of anything. It's not that you lose consciousness because you never had consciousness, but you are no more conscious of anything. But the moment the fourth one is there, now this one is aware of all the three. Then the question comes is, did this fourth one emerge? Or whether it was lying in the non-activated state. So the masters say, no, this one was always there, but you were not connecting with that because you were so busy into the drama of the real world and the drama of the dream world. And so you were not aware of the one observing the drama. So that is what they say. So when your first body gets activated, suddenly you step back from the drama of life. And when you step back from the drama of life, you become the observer of life. One more thing that happens when the first energy body is activated is all your desires are gone. You have no worldly desires, but the world still continues to be. You don't entangle with the world. You don't try to change the world. You don't try to fix the world, but you're still a part of the world and you still operate efficiently within that world. So this is what is the activation of the first energy body, which is the astral energy body. When the second energy body, which is the mental energy body, that gets activated, now you enter the realm of what is known as bliss. And this is your Anandamaya Kosha. So this bliss is so ecstatic, so beautiful, so engrossing that the world around you falls away and you go and submerge in that bliss. You don't want to come out of it. Now people call this the samadhi. But unfortunately, you cannot remain there for most of the humans. Somehow, spirit brings you out of that bliss and says you still have to live. So go out and do your duty, go out and do your work. And whenever you get time, you come back again and go back again and submerge into that bliss. So this is what happens when your second energy body is activated. Now, because when the second energy body gets activated, the world has fallen away for you. You are no more creating karma. And all your past karmas have been washed away. Unless the past karmas is washed away, neutralized, diluted, you cannot enter or activate the second energy body and you cannot enter the realm of bliss. So this is what happens when the second energy body gets activated. When your third energy body gets activated, you now enter into the realm of what is known as awareness. What is this awareness? We all have the awareness within our five senses. But now you have the awareness beyond your five senses. And depending on how much your activation has happened, if it is 100%, your awareness can reach to the farthest reach of the multiverse. So, this is the activation of the third energy body, which is known as the etheric energy body. Then there is the activation of the fourth energy body, which is known as the electromagnetic energy body. When this fourth body gets activated, now you have with you supernatural powers. You can do things that other persons will consider it to be miracle. You can bend the laws of the universe up to a point. You can perform things which no one can perform. So this is the activation of the fourth body. And now there is the activation of the fifth body called the spiritual energy body. And in the human domain, you can only activate at the most five energy bodies. When your fifth energy body gets activated, now what happens? Now, up till now, it was you were with the spirit. You were being run by the spirit. You were being sourced by the spirit. And spirit was activating all your energy bodies on the basis of what was written in the script. But the moment your fifth energy body or the spiritual energy body gets activated, you are now no more sourced by the spirit, you are now sourced by the soul. And that is why we call that as the soul realization. Till your till now, up to the fourth energy body or before your fifth energy body got activated, you were self realized, because spirit is self, spirit is Ishwar, spirit is Atman. So these are the, in brief, I am giving you the whole crux of the spiritual journey. And you cannot activate these bodies with any kind of spiritual journey, with any kind of purification, with any kind of blessings, either from the Guru or from the deities or from the enlightened masters, past or current. You cannot get enlightened through the blessings of whatever is known as Meher Baba, Mahavatar Babaji, or Sai Baba, or any of these ones. They cannot do. Shiva cannot give you enlightenment. Shiva cannot bless you to have enlightenment. It only happens if the soul has written it in the storyline. And in the storyline, it will be written whether you have to go through 50 years of purification, meditation, sadhana, mantra jap, and breath work, and all those things, or just less than 1 second and it is done.
And can one change the storyline?
No, no one can change the storyline. No human can change the storyline. And the point is, the ones who wrote it, they have no vested interest to make your life beautiful.
So these dimensions that we were talking, is
It's, it's,
this
it, all, it all is corresponding to these activations.
activations? And do you got that you can do that activations for people?
No, I
For
cannot do. God doesn't do act. God never does any activation. On the
then,
on the contrary, it has been seen when people who are activated come to God, they get deactivated, and they don't like that.
so so what about this you mentioned, if this gets activated, then this happens.
I'm
And
talking about the spiritual journey, nothing to do with God.
okay, I'm a little bit confused here. So you mentioned about dimensions, you mentioned about the energetic bodies.
I said that each dimension you can access when those bodies are activated. So right now, you can access the fourth dimension when your astral body gets activated.
So
All
the
the
question is,
all the enlightened masters, they are mostly residing in the fifth dimension because their second body got activated.
how did that get got activated?
Because it was written in the storyline and spirit does the activation.
Okay, it's the spirit who is doing the work basically. And
And
what
what
is
is
this?
spirit?
Yeah, what is spirit?
So I give them the story, not the story, a metaphor of an ocean and the waves. So there is the ocean, and there are waves rising in that ocean. When the wave is up, it has its own identity. It is a big wave, it is a small wave, it has gone pretty high, it has gone pretty low, it has a huge force, it has less force. Now, bringing it back to our world, what is this ocean in our world? The ocean in our world is what is known as the Brahman or the Brahm or the matrix or the universe. Now, when I say universe, I'm not talking about the planets and star systems or none of these things, nor the galaxy or anything. I'm talking about everything that encompasses all these things. So maybe the universe is a word that might deceive. So let's just keep it the matrix. Now, what is basically this matrix? Matrix is nothing but the mind of the king. And from the matrix arises a wave that enters you and you come alive, enters me and I come alive. And this is what is the spirit. So when Jesus said Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, he was talking about the Father, which is the King. He was talking about the Son, which was Jesus. Now, Holy Spirit, everyone became a little dicey. Basically, they thought it is divine. They thought it is holy. They thought it is very good. But it's not very good. It creates the worst of the worst and it creates the best of the best. But because it was the spirit of Jesus, so they added the word holy. No one adds the word holy to your spirit and my spirit.
So basically, what you're saying is just a thought wave that comes
It's,
from the king.
it's not a thought wave.
What is that then?
It's too many things. Let's call it something that is very intelligent. It comes from the matrix, but it is not disconnected from the matrix. And when it leaves you, you will die and it will go back into the matrix. It arises from the matrix and again goes back into the matrix. Just like a wave arises from the ocean and falls into the ocean.
So aren't we also humans? Like we came from the ocean as a wave, and then we go back into the wave, into the ocean, like the
You see,
gold and ornaments.
when uh, when the soul wrote the storyline, now there needs to be someone who has to execute that script. So who is this executor? So when we are born, or even before we are born, the spirit comes in and it starts creating the body, the mind, and the personality. Because we are basically five things. First, we are the body. Second, we are the mind. Third, we are the personality. Fourth, we are the energy body, which is spirit sent by the king. And fifth, we are the energy body given to us by God. So we are only these five things. And if one has a clarity that we are nothing more than these five, then one can understand better what God is really trying to point to. Because when you say, I have decided, the point comes, who is this I who have decided? So now you have these five things. Now, of this, spirit, it doesn't need to do anything to itself. The energy bodies, it has already been given by God. Spirit doesn't touch the energy bodies. Only the three things that spirit creates from the storyline, according to the storyline, depending on the story, so that the story will be executed exactly within that storyline given, and it will put in the energy depending on how much energy the human needs. It will put in the thoughts, feelings, and emotions depending on what the spirit wants this physical body, mind, and personality to do.
A lot, a lot to grasp. My question about the king, you mentioned he feeds on the pain and suffering of humans. Why? Why can't he feed on something else?
He cannot feed on something else because God cursed him to feed on the grime of the humans. And it's interesting that every community gives so beautiful food to their God to eat, not knowing that God doesn't eat them. It's only the grime that the God eats, which no human would ever touch.
So, is this why there is so many wars and disillusionments and domestic violations and whatever is happening in this world? And this is what is feeding the king.
It is creating the food for the king. And as it creates the food for the king through all kind of war, through all kind of conflict, through all kind of jealousy, through all kind of wanting, through wanting what others have, through all kind of snatching, through all kind of fear, through all kind of stress, through all kind of anxiety. These are the ways how the grime is created. And where does this grime go? The grime accumulates in the etheric body. You see, I talked about people who are having a spiritual journey, but most humans are not having a spiritual journey. They're taking birth again and again and again, irrespective of whether they agree in their narrative, religious narratives or not, because Abrahamic religion says no, only one life. It doesn't matter what your religion says. You are being born again and again and again. But the question is, who is being born? Because you have only three things. You have your physical body, which is either going to be burnt or buried. You have your mind and you have your personality. Now, this thing called mind and the personality remains as long as the astral body is stuck in our around us, around where it lives. How does the astral body get stuck? If you are having any kind of desires, astral body gets stuck. If you have any kind of attachments, astral body gets stuck. If you have any kind of aversions, you want to take revenge or whatever, you want to teach someone a lesson, astral body gets stuck. If you are into heavy addictions and you want your addictions to continue, you want to enter into other humans' body who are having those addictions, and you will feed through them, and then the astral body gets stuck. So we do all kind of rituals in order to tell the astral body, don't get stuck, go back, go where? Into the ancestral world. We call in our language pitrulok. So we somehow want to push them there, but they don't go, most of them don't go, and so they remain stuck. And for ages and ages and ages, thousands of years, they're stuck. They died in the battlefield. They're stuck. Someone murdered them. They're stuck. They lost heavily and they're stuck wanting to regain that money. So this is what happens. Now,
So, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
let me complete that conversation. Now, whether this astral body is stuck or whether this astral body has gone to the ancestral world, how do you take a new birth? It is your mental body, the second energy body, which carries all your karmic baggage, which comes into the next incarnation. And in that next incarnation, the soul creates the script from the karmic baggage and writes the storyline. And then it launches you in that character, and one more life cycle starts. The spirit comes and makes you alive, gives you the life force, and this is how you keep on taking birth. And if you have, let's say, 50 births, 50, then you have 50 astral bodies waiting in the ancestral world to someday come back. When you are going to get enlightened, all of them will come back, merge into you, and then you will go into the next journey. And what happens to that etheric body? Etheric body collects all the grime and then it takes it to the king. Do we have some kind of indication given around whether the king is really eating these bodies? Yes, in our scripture called the Bhagavad Gita, in the 11th chapter, where there is a Virat Rup Darshan, it shows how the king is feeding on the humans. All the humans are going into the mouth. But when they show that it is not the physical body that is going, it is the energy body with the grime that is going into the king. And that is what the king is feeding on. And so, in your next incarnation, the soul has to create one new etheric body and one new astral body.
Why such a mess with humans? Why? And all these ancestors, like ancestors who are stuck in this realm or lower realms or higher realms, the descendants will also will start having problems because they are
Yes,
stuck and they want the descendants to pray for them
that's
so
why
that
we
they
have
can be
that's why we have this system of where we try to please them once a year or once a month.
the Pitru Runa, what we call it. One last one. What's your take on karmas?
There is no such thing as karma, and yet it is. Now that is where people get a little jittery that I'm not giving them a direct answer. But you have to understand that you live in a world of illusion. And in this world of illusion, they have created the deception called that you have free will. But truly, you don't have free will. And you are being used as a puppet. And puppets never create karma. In order for karma to happen, you must have free will. So first decide, are you a puppet or are you someone who truly has freedom to act the way you want to act? And then you will have your answer whether there is free will or not. And yet I tell people, even though there is no such thing as karma, whether good or bad, both doesn't matter. There is no such thing as karma, and yet there is karma. Why there is karma? Because the soul needs the karma to write the story. So what have they done? Irrespective of whether you have created karma or not, they kind of impose karma on you. They make you do bad deeds and they then say you have done bad karma. They make you do good deeds and then they say you have done good karma. And depending on that totality, the next life is created. But you neither did the bad one, You neither did the good one, but you carry the burden of both. This is the game that the king has played.
So what's your suggestion for me to start this process
I
with
don't give I don't give suggestions. It is your life. You have your
yes,
vested interests, and whatever decision you make has its consequences.
of course.
So, looking into what you are vested in, looking into the consequences of your decisions, you have to make your choice. I made my choice and it destroyed me. That much I can tell you.
Destroyed you in which way?
Every way, financially, health, family, relationships, everything became a big mess, and it is still a big mess.
So the choices that we make, either we react or respond, depends on our own doing, or again, are we the puppets of the king, that the
It
king
is
decides?
yeah, it is the spirit that makes you believe that you have given due consideration and then came to the decision. Only when it comes to God, now God gives you a little bit of what I would say consciousness in these 30 days. There are people, but they are very minuscule. They read the book and they throw everything away because they don't have vested interest. They are not a guru. They are not a master. They are not a teacher. They have no ashram. They have no followers, nothing. And so it is very easy for them to throw everything away. And they just say, I'm now only going to be with God. No more religion for me. No more spiritual practices for me. It's easy for them. But people who have already invested their life into creating a structure around religion and spirituality, it's not easy because I have gone through my own, what I would say, the pain of questioning me. Did I really make the right decision? Was it worth destroying my family for this? Was it worth affecting my body for this? So, everyone, you might also go through that. So, I will never tell you to choose God. It's totally up to you.
What makes this desire to choose God and not to choose God?
It comes from a place of partly what the soul has put into you, called wanting God. Somewhere in the storyline, a speck of dust was given, and this dust particle somehow is constantly acting like a virus. I want God. I want to be with God. I want to know God. I want to experience God. God is the only thing that is important to me. No matter what happens to me, I will only be with God and no one else. But unfortunately, the body mind personality has no clarity as to what God is, who God is, and who God is not. So, for the first time, this book comes out. Of course, there are people who will say there have been so many books, but this book talks direct. This book doesn't go round and round. This book has no vested interest in converting you into anything. This book has no vested interest in trying to pull anyone out of their domain. This book informs and moves on. And so you have been informed, and with the questions you asked, you now have a little more clarity than when we started. But in the end, the clarity doesn't make the decision. It is again that body mind personality who will make the decision, and irrespective of the decision, because even if you decide, no, I'm going to be with the king, you will still be like, why did I let go of not wanting God and being with God. But if you choose God, there will be a lot of consequences. Your structure will crumble. The people who associated with you will put a big question mark on your sanity. They will ask for evidence based on which you made the choice. And then you are like, oh my God, what have I done? And maybe you can't even go back. And so that's why I say, think carefully before you decide either way.
I understand this. And the the true experience or embodiment of God, it's very very important to me. So it's like I would like to have this in my life. I would like to really have a conversation with God. I would like to see, to have God in my life, I would say, so that I can ask God about, like you asked, shall I have this Zoom call or not? So every decision, my understanding is, has to come through God and not through the king. This is what is coming to me right now. So I would like to thank you. Yes, go ahead, please.
The decision that you make is always in the moment, and the next moment can bring in a lot of confusion. The next moment can bring a lot of fear. Next moment can bring a lot of thoughts that will question everything that you said right now. It was easy for you to say what you said because you are in the live presence of God, and it seems to be the most natural thing to do. But once this Zoom call is over, you will go back into the world of the king. You will go back into the world of the matrix. You will go back into the world of the hypnosis. You will go back into the world of illusion. And all your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, they will be put into you by the king. You will remember, of course, what you said right now, but whether that will be the one that will decide this moment of clarity. Because what will happen is this moment of clarity is happening outside the hypnosis, outside the matrix, outside everything that the king has created. Right now, you are outside of everything as long as you are with me. The moment this connection ends, even though it is a virtual connection, suddenly they all will again encompass you. They all will again suck you into that whole thing. And then will start a real test of what you truly wish to have in your life.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your
Right.
time and
Thank you.
presence.
Okay. Bye.
It was wonderful meeting you.